Welcome back to the channel. This is video 2 in our Mapping for Mature Buck series. In this video we'll be discussing how to use CalTopo for hill country whitetail hunting. If you're interested in using CalTopo as a mapping software for hunting applications, you're going to want to go over to caltopo.com. It's available both on the web for desktop computer and on iPhone. Right here is the symbol that you're looking for when you download it on your phone. And after you get to this page here, you're just going to want to go over to this section right here and click on Start Mapping. Next thing you'll do is you'll go up to this section right here called Your Data. And once you click on that, you're going to go up to right here and click on the plus symbol. And this screen right here will pop up. You can give your first map a name right here. Your account, your data, recreation. I usually just keep everything in the My Data section. You get 5 free maps with the CalTopo free version. And of course, if you download the Pro version, I think it's $50. There's a couple even higher versions than that, but you're going to go in here. I like to make mine private, or else everybody out there would be able to see it. And then we'll click on the Save button. And the first map that you'll see will not look like this. It'll be like a map of the United States, and you'll have to zoom in to the area that you want to look at. And it'll also be this Map Builder Topo version. You can switch it to all these different versions, like Forest Service version. There's global imagery for aerial imagery, but I like to choose shaded relief, and I'll switch back and forth between some of these layers, and I'll add layers on top of layers sometimes, but shaded relief is the primary go-to for me. And let me say that in this video series I intend to use pieces of private land. So if I break down your private land, I'll give you my apologies now. I don't think anybody's planning on going there to hunt it. And I've also grayed out this section up here, which normally gives you the coordinates, and I'll just quickly show you that this is private land. It is close to some public land, but I don't want to mess anybody's hunting spots up. See all these roads, there's a city here, but this looks just like any public land piece that you might bring up, in a particular area in hill country. My intention is to just go around the application and show you how I use it, as a primary hunting application. I know there's other softwares out there, and I definitely use those other softwares to really build a big picture, but this is just about CalTopo and the different options that it gives you with respect to hunting in hill country, and also flat country and mountain country. So this is an area here where you can transfer waypoints from some of the other software applications into CalTopo. What I'd like to say about that is, if you notice here in the middle of the page, I'm going to move the middle of the page over so you can see the crosshair. You want to turn the crosshair on up here in settings, and the way you do that is to show the position at the center. I like to know where the waypoint is going to show up. Paste the coordinates into this box up here. You're going to want to hit the enter button on your phone or on your desktop computer. And when you hit enter, it's going to not put a waypoint on the screen, but it's going to be exactly where you want to put that waypoint with respect to this crosshair. You're going to want to immediately don't move your map, because then you've lost the location. Keep the map still, go up here, and then add a new marker. And you can choose among many markers like you would in Onyx or Spartan Forge or even Google Earth, but CalTopo has its own set of markers, and one of the things I wanted to show is how I use those markers to build a journal picture of where I'm going to hunt. The map that you just named is going to be located up here. This is where you zoom in and zoom out on your map, but you can also, use your fingers or pinch your screen if you're on your phone. One of the first things I like to do after I set up my map, and I guess this is a good time to show you how I do that, is I choose shaded relief normal. I choose slope angle shading and gradient, and you can use fixed. It'll just present it as a different color, so maybe your eyes will see the screen differently by choosing fixed, but I like gradient. I usually always choose public lands, but I've also found that in most views you can only see public lands if you zoom way out, and that's generally helpful. But the colors just don't readily show up on the map. You cannot see a change in the screen other than it shows you down here at the bottom the different colors. But I usually just leave this unchecked. The reason it popped up just now is because I'll show you in a minute how you save your settings for the map the way you like to see it. I'll always choose the motor vehicle MUMV because I want to see on public land where all the roads are that I can potentially access or even drive on. The other thing that I like to check is the map builder overlay. This shows me all of the roads, and as you can see, this is again private land, so there's plenty of roads here, and the names of them show up. But we'll turn that off for now. And then if you like contours, you can choose between all the way down to 10-foot contours, all the way up to 5 meters. I generally keep these off unless I want to see a map in a different view, but just for initial setup I usually turn this off. So this is how I set up my map. Shaded relief normal, contours are off, the map builder overlay is on, slope angle shading is in gradient, and MVUM is checked. The first thing you want to do if you want to run this particular setup, you go over to this eye and click on it and check this box. Keep these layers. So that map that you've named, I have mine named main. That map will then hopefully keep these layers. You'll see me using this a lot. You can measure different areas such as polygons. I always draw my fields in polygons, usually in a red color, a red outline with no shading, and that tells me how big a particular field is, because that's good to know information. But we'll look at distance real quick. You just click your mouse in one area, you double click your mouse in another area, and you'll get a readout of, hey, this is 9 miles or 14.58 kilometers. Unfortunately, you can't change it to anything other than, I think the smallest thing you can change a measurement to is in feet. So you'll have to divide by 3 to get yards, and typically that's what I'm doing because I like to know my distances in yards. Most bow hunters like that. See here, I just measured again, and it's 2,146 feet. So 2,146 divided by 3, we just measured out 715 yards. This area up here is grayed out because the coordinates show up here, the elevation shows up, and the WGS 84, which is the type of map that you've selected, will show up there. I'm graying it out just because I respect people's privacy, and this is again private land. But we'll pull it back in here to the center, click on sun exposure. You go over here and change that to October or November or December, and what time you're at. Obviously this is going to change, and the way the map looks will change. Daylight savings time, which I believe is on November the 3rd this year. So you're looking at November. If you're looking at November now, just realize that your map's going to look different once the time changes. But here you can see all of these eastern facing ridges. The sun is no longer on them, at 5 p.m. in October, and the thermals will start dropping. It's cool because you can then change it to 5:30 and just see how much more the thermals are dropping, so that if you're going to go into a thermal hub and you cannot hunt it without dropping thermals, this map shows you exactly when you need to start making your way in there, so that the rising thermals don't get you busted before your hunt even starts. You can also look at some other things down here at the bottom that you might not be able to look at with the free version. But typically I'm not using too many of these. I might use the weather station one just to see if there's a weather station that I can, in the Wind Finder app, I like to choose the closest wind stations, because sometimes they're right there on that public ground that you're hunting. And lastly, in this video series, we'll look at what thermal hubs look like, what wagon wheels, what connecting drainages, and parallel ridge systems look like. Your markers, all of the things that you have in here will show up over here, or you can actually hide that. You can even hide the layers version just to make it complete full screen. Generally, I can see what I need to see with both of these pulled up, because I'm always looking at different maps and different overlays to change the view in order to be able to see the terrain the way that I think you need to be able to see it in order to choose the spot within the spot. Part of why I like CalTopo is it has really taught me how to choose the right spot to be in, and it's based on topography. It's based on the slope angle shading and how the map looks, and it's a very, very accurate map. I also like this map because it contains Lidar, and Lidar is really good for showing roads. I'll zoom in here and just show you that I can probably find a road fairly quickly. Also, be patient with CalTopo, because it does take time to load in the field. But it has worked almost everywhere I've ever been. One difference that the phone version has over the desktop version is down here in this corner. You'll see the ability to track. So I like to use the tracker function to map my access to and from my deer stands, and also to map out all of the deer trails. And in this series, we'll be showing you how to do some of that stuff. And here, all of your different markers will show up. The style, as you can see, this is a T I got in here for looking at a thermal hub, but we'll get into those individually in the series. You can change the style. I recommend opening up this SAR section, because it provides you with a lot of different things that might not be related to deer hunting, but you can journal the way you want to journal and pick something that you like. For example, I like this arrow for my tree stands. And the reason why is because if I change that arrow, I can change the orientation. And with a compass rose, I can point that arrow in the exact position that it needs to be in for a desired wind. And I can use the compass rose to tell me what degrees I need to change it to. So for example, if I want to hunt a northeast wind, and that's really the only wind that I can hunt, I want that arrow pointed the opposite of northeast, which is 225 degrees on a compass rose. So we just go into this orientation section right down here in the bottom, delete the 0, put in 225, change our color to whatever. And for me, if I'm hunting anything from the north to the east, I choose purple. Anything from the east to the south, I choose red. Anything from south to west, I choose blue. And anything from west to north, I choose black. And that way, when I'm zoomed out on a piece of public where I have tons and tons of waypoints, and I've got a northwest wind, I want to know where all of my black arrows are located. Another good feature is that within this color wheel here, and it changes when you click on the color, such as red, it will come up with these different color wheels. And to change the color within the color wheel, you can move this slider up and down, or simply just click in there with your finger if you're using an iPhone. But one of my favorite colors is brown, because everything that I mark, all of my rubs, all of my scrapes, and all of my deer trails, they're going to be marked in brown. And how I do brown is I just come to this G right here and I slide it right over into this section and I click it, and brown shows up, and I click OK. Yeah, they're not exactly 105, 23, 23 every single time, because you're literally clicking a little dot here, but brown is brown, and I like to say brown is down. So you can also label your map. If you like to, label things, you can label your check stations, your fire towers, pig wallows, maybe scrapes, rubs. I don't label everything, because sometimes too much on a map, you can't see what you need to see. So I will label some things, but mostly it's just big ticket items like navigational aids to get me, to the fire tower over on, Point Peter Highway. So that may be something that you might want to do as well. And let's go back into our different waypoints and different markers. These styles, you'll see in this video series, I'm labeling my thermal hubs as T, and then we'll delete it and we'll actually dive in and break that thermal hub down, connecting drainages with a C, W for wagon wheel or topographic hubs, and then parallel ridge systems with a P. In my maps, I like to mark P as parking, A as access. If I know where a house is at, I might mark that. If I'm using an e-bike, I use my bicycle down here. There's a lot of different things. You can get creative, like where your cameras are at. You can put camera here, and then you can use different. All of these arrows allow you to change the direction. So if I've hunted a spot and I'm familiar with a spot, it's this arrow. If I am scouting, e-scouting, and have not been into a spot or checked it out, it's usually going to be this arrow, and it's going to be pointed in the direction that I need the wind to blow to be successful. Up here in, I just zoomed in and out, but up here in this section over here, we talked about the different base layers for your maps, but you can also stack layers. And what I found that is on some public ground, some people using CalTopo have shared some of their maps and made them public. I know a couple of different pieces of public ground that have these base layers, and you can go overlay those into CalTopo. So let's just look at the different types that we can put the Forest Service map on top of this, and then use your slider to see in what level of detail you want to see it in. And if there was a Forest Service map of this private ground, you would then see the Forest Service 2016 topo in green. You'll see the topographic lines, I believe, in 40 feet. So that's just how you use that. Don't forget this slider. The first time you choose this and it's defaulted on 0 and you don't see anything, you're going to be like, well, that map's no good, but it really is. So you just got to slide the slider over to the opacity that you want to look at it. I also think that this Forest Service maps are really good sometimes for showing things. If you look at the legend on a Forest Service map, things like old home places and cemeteries and structures that used to be there will be on the map on public ground. And this is good information to know, because a lot of those old home places will be areas where people lived because it's flat, and the deer seem to gravitate also to making scrapes and rubs in some of those general areas, because they use the old logging roads that went to the old home places, and now these old home places have, longs, and they're sometimes grown up pretty thick, and a lot of times they can be bedding areas as well. Those old, cemeteries, we, respect those that are buried there, and kind of leave them alone, but they're nice to know, where they are. And if you're interested in stuff like this, turn on your notifications so you don't miss any of the videos in this series. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you back soon.